I call our meeting to order. The first item of business is to convene an executive session. For anyone in the waiting room, we expect to have approximately a 1 hour executive session this evening with a public meeting to start at around 7 o'clock. So I would need a motion for a motion to recess to executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 4246-4 for a discussion of job performance, character, or physical mental health of a person or persons, provided that the persons affected have been notified in advance in writing, which they have, and advised that they may require the discussion to be held at an open meeting, which they have been noticed of. That's Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A1. Also for sessions relating to potential litigation and legal advice pursuant to 4246-5A2, and a discussion of any investigative proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct, either civil or criminal, pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A4. Could I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Mather. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Hoskins. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So we're going to convene our executive session with expecting to start again in open session around 7 o'clock. So give me a moment here. We'll call our meeting to order. Today is February 1st, 2022. This is a business meeting of the North Kingstown School Committee. Pursuant to executive order issued by the governor number 2201, this meeting will be conducted electronically over Zoom. We have our quorum, so I will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And, oh, wait, we need our clerks. I did forget. One moment.
Ibis is our clerk for tonight, Chairman.
Okay, let me just let her have speaking. Okay. Ibis, are you there? Ibis? Okay, I can't hear you though. Can I hear anyone else? If one of the members could speak just to make sure it's not just me.
No, I think it's just you.
Okay, now I got her. Okay, Ibis, sorry. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
I can't hear her.
Okay, so it isn't just me. For some reason, we can't hear you.
Could you have her make sure the sound is on her laptop?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, I can call a roll. I don't have the calendar handy, but I can call a roll. So we'll call the roll. Jennifer Hoskins. You're muted, Jen.
Here.
Okay, Gregory Blasberg, here. Lisa Hildebrand.
Here.
Jake Mather.
Here.
Jennifer Lima.
Here.
Okay, and then we have our Jamestown representative, Sally Schott.
I'm here.
Okay, and then I didn't give permissions. I apologize. I don't see, there's Brooke. Okay, so I do see Brooke Thompson.
Gabe is in the waiting room, or Gabe is.
And yep, and Gabriel. So both of our student representatives are here as well. Okay, Ibis, any chance we can hear you? Can try again? No, okay, I don't have a calendar handy to call, so we'll move on. So next we would have presentations or recognitions. Dr. Ajay, do you have any recognitions this evening?
I have a couple, but I'll let Dr. Mansieri go first.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I just have one recognition tonight. Mia Thompson, North Kingstown's Teacher of the Year, has been named by the National Art Education Association as the Rhode Island Art Educator of the Year. Mia has the opportunity to attend the Eastern Regional Awards in New York to receive her award. Also, this award really underscores Mia's exemplary contributions to the field of visual arts education. I just want to congratulate Mia very much for all her hard work. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mrs. King, would you like to go?
Yes. So I just wanted to take this opportunity. You know, this is that time of year where we have some pretty epic storms, and this past weekend was a doozy. So I would like to thank Bob Carenti, who is our Director of Facilities, and all of our crew that were out there. They were out there Saturday, they were out there Sunday. They've still been out there trying to move snow where there's no place to go. I'd also like to thank ABM personnel. They come in and they clean off our sidewalks, and they do the best they can. It was even reported to me that a couple of the ABM employees stayed overnight because they were afraid they weren't going to be able to get back to help clean up the schools. So that's phenomenal. And also lawn beauticians, they also do the parking lots in some of our schools also. I just want to remind everybody, just please continue to be careful on the walkways. You know, they're going to melt, it's going to freeze, they're going to melt and freeze. And please be careful around all corners everywhere. There's an awful lot of snow. There's really no place else to put it. Everyone just has to slow down and be careful. But thank you to all of our crew and everybody who did such a great job.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate the winners of the North Kingstown School Department Spelling Bee, which occurred last Thursday and was hosted by the administration at Quidnesset this year. First place was Haider Rahim of Davisville Middle School. Second place was Johanna Reese of Wickford Middle School. And third place was Alessandro Conroy of also Davisville Middle School. We also have a couple of track stars. Sadie Souls was first place in the East Coast Invitational, and our own Brooke Thompson, yes, the very person who represents the student body on this school committee meeting tonight, won first place in the high jump in the East Coast Invitational. Congratulations, Brooke and Sadie. That's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you. Congratulations. So having concluded presentations and recognitions, we have citizens' comments. So for those of you who are desiring to speak, again, in a Zoom meeting, you can raise your hand using the participants tab, and I will see that you would like to speak. As always, we ask that you please state your name and address for the record, and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you go over that time, I'll ask you to please wrap up. Yes.
Can I ask if the committee is open to it to have Dr. Morse make a presentation on gender neutral bathrooms up front? She has a presentation prepared. That may inform some people in terms, I know there are a number of people who are probably going to want to come tonight to talk about that item. So it might be helpful for them to hear the presentation and then go to citizens' comments, if that's okay.
Are there any objections to that from members of the committee? Okay, I don't hear any objections. So we will have Dr. Morse do that brief presentation, and then we'll get to citizens' comments, and anyone can still speak on any topic that they'd like. Dr. Morse?
You'd have to.
Oh, I need to let her in,
bring
don't
her
I?
up
One
and
moment.
give her rights to share her screen.
Screens. Yep. Hold on a second. That, I think, should do it.
All right, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, so just bear with me for a minute. Somebody might have to walk me through. I haven't Zoomed a presentation in a long time. So I do have a PowerPoint to share with you. If Mike is on, could you tell me which
He
one
is.
I'm going to hit here to share the screen with you?
So there's a button between the chat and record for share screen.
Oh, share screen. Okay, in green. How could I have missed it? All right. So if I share my screen and I want to share. Let's see, advanced. So let me know, Mike. I'm sharing my screen, but I'm not seeing that it's on your screen.
Are you using multiple monitors?
Yes. Do you want me to turn off my monitor?
Nope. What'll happen is a pop-up will pop up and it will ask you which screen you like to share.
Mhm.
So what I do in this case is I put the presentation on one screen and then that's the screen I select to share.
All righty. Thank you for your patience with this. So I'm going to put it on screen too and share that, and hopefully that will do the trick for us.
That worked.
That works, but you're seeing your agenda, right? Instead of
Yes, we are. So, yep, we just need to
you just
switch
close.
slides, but we see your screen.
No. Does that help?
We still see the agenda at the moment.
Are you able to pull the PowerPoint onto the screen that we're able to see? There you go.
Now we got it.
Now you have it. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So now if I could just do the slides, I think we are good now. So need for private bathrooms. The GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. It has some research. It's quite a large organization, and one that gives a lot of research and literature, along with a couple of other organizations that I'm going to mention tonight. But their research shows that nearly 2/3 of transgender students avoid school bathrooms because of feelings of being unsafe or uncomfortable. But this isn't just about transgender students or non-conforming students gender-wise. We have a number of students who have IBS or psychological conditions that make bathroom use prohibitive for them. And students with any kind of condition like this might avoid using the restrooms during the day. They might avoid intaking fluids or eating. This is not good for students to spend the day avoiding the bathroom use, and they risk pain, dehydration, or other serious health effects if this continues long-term. So this is a serious situation for many of our students. Some of the questions have come into place about the compliance with the laws. So I want to assure everybody that we are in compliance with both Rhode Island law and Title IX. Rhode Island law makes single-user restrooms in public places non-gender specific. So we're talking about the single-user ones, not the multi-stalled bathrooms. And we have undertaken making all of those single-user bathrooms that are available to students available to all students. They have gender-neutral signage on them, and we don't monitor who uses them as far as, as a student can go, and sometimes faculty use those bathrooms. They're open to everyone. Title IX, sorry, I'm getting pop-ups. Title IX is having to do with allowing students to access bathrooms that are, for instance, if we have a gender-specific bathroom and a child identifies as a female, they're allowed to use the female bathroom. If the child identifies as male, they are allowed by law to use the male bathroom. We don't tell students who are transgender what bathroom they need to use. We have both options that are single stall user, or they can use whichever bathroom they're most comfortable using. So they're not told which bathroom to use, but the choice is available to them. So that's what Title IX is referring to with the bathroom use. But for us, it's not just about compliance. Compliance isn't enough. We're concerned about our students' overall health and well-being, and them feeling that they are included here and that we are looking out for their safety and their well-being. So this is a larger conversation than just being compliant with the law. So I pulled out a little bit of literature from the research that I did. And one of the things that has come up is about the use of the nurses' room as one of the single user facilities that is available to students. In almost all of the literature that I found on this topic, it mentions the nurse's office specifically as a place that should be available for students to use. In no literature did I find any mention that they considered the nurse's office to be not appropriate for students to use as single user. So I know that's been a source of discussion among people. Our nurse's office is clean. It's probably the cleanest bathroom, and because it's monitored all day long, and she makes sure it's meticulously cleaned throughout the day. Also, it's been mentioned that it might make students uncomfortable to ask for a nurse's pass to go to the clinic when they need to use the bathroom. Students do not need to ask for a nurse's pass. Any student who leaves a classroom should ask for a LAV pass. And if they have a LAV pass, they're welcome to come down to the clinic and use that bathroom. We don't ask questions about what kind of pass they have. Sometimes in between passing, a student will come in and ask to use the bathroom then and there, and they're welcome to do that. They don't even record it as a clinic visit. They're allowed to go and use the bathroom for whatever purpose. All we need to know is that there's a student there who's asking to use the bathroom. OSHA, sorry, these pop-ups again. So OSHA talks about single occupancy gender facilities. They suggest that multi-occupant gender neutral restroom facilities have lockable single stalls. So that's a little different than, and I have some examples to show you, but that's a little different than opening up a multi-stall bathroom and allowing everybody to use it. GLSEN, again, I mentioned them before. The solution here is not new or radical concept. All schools should have private gender neutral bathrooms for any student to use, the same as you would in a home. So the whole thing rests on privacy. In addition to that, we have some issues about monitoring any kind of high school bathroom, which I'll talk about later. But for these bathrooms, what we're really talking about is the privacy piece of it. So consistent with Title IX, students are able to use gender-specific bathrooms of whichever gender they identify. And for single-use bathrooms, what we have available to students is 2 individual bathrooms, single-user bathrooms in the auditorium. Semester 1, they were open 5 of the 8 periods. So there were 3 periods where they were not available to students. And based on the semester 2 schedule, there are 6 out of 8 periods right now that they are open based on classrooms that are in there. So the doors are sometimes locked and propped, sometimes unlocked. The clinic is always open. And we have an officials room, which is on the back corridor behind the gym, which is a single user bathroom. Primarily, we use that for students as an alternative to the locker room. So we have some students who may be uncomfortable changing their clothes, in the locker room, and they don't want to have to choose which locker room. So they have that as a choice. They're not told, again, they're not told they have to use it. It's an option if they choose it. So based on the research that I'm going to show you, the bathrooms which offer the greatest privacy for those who need it include single user bathrooms and stalls in multi-stall facilities that are designed as single users within one area. These stalls have enclosed walls with no gap doors, and the doors should extend most of the way to the floor. This is to give both visual and acoustical type privacy. Let me go back a second. So multi-user bathrooms are ideal, but often plagued by gaps at the floor. And I'm going to show you some pictures of the actual bathroom that we had in mind to use as a gender neutral or inclusive bathroom. Floor to ceiling doors are slightly more expensive because each stall needs individual lighting and ventilation. So these bathrooms, whether you build them or you retrofit them, can be very expensive. Alternatively, specifying zero sightline doors or doors that only have small gaps at the floor and ceiling ensures visual privacy without needing to modify mechanical and lighting systems. So there are some options there. So this is a visual of what they mean by an inclusive restroom design. And some of the things you'll note here is that it's a very open space. It's not a closed in room. Each of the stalls, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but you can see individual stalls that have doors on it like you would have at in a bathroom at home. This is another visual. This is actually a design for middle school, high school grades. And as again, you can see, there's the private space, which are the individual stalls that offer a lot of privacy as a single user bathroom. And then there's this open space with hallways. It's a very open communal sinks. It's called like the public space. And that allows for supervision that is more passive than an adult entering into a bathroom where there are multiple genders using them. This is a comparison of retrofitted bathrooms. So the one on the left is a typical female bathroom with a single door entry. As you can see on the right-hand side here, this is where there's a foyer. And there's also, it's completely walled in. On the right is how they converted that to an inclusive bathroom. And you can see that on the right-hand side of this one, the foyer area is gone. The wall is opened up. So there's a sight line through. The stalls have been converted to individual stalls. And this area over here on the left has also been opened up. It's no longer a solid wall. So it's visually more open. And this wall here, depending on the structure, could be brought down so that it's not a solid full wall. These are pictures of the bathroom that we originally opened up in an attempt to have a gender neutral bathroom. And I can show you both the pros and the cons of using this bathroom. The sinks are all on one wall, and there's a wall across from this. This is the main entrance door that you can see. And there's a wall across from that. So even if that door were opened up or that wall were opened up, it would still afford some privacy for the stall area. You can't see directly at the stalls from the hallway. It's still an individual stall situation, which doesn't afford a lot of privacy. And in this picture, this on the left is the main door, and you can see that wall that I was talking about. On the right-hand side, you can see what they're talking about when they talk about gapless doors. You can actually, I closed that bathroom door and took a picture from at least a foot away. And you can see the toilet through that gap. That's not conducive to any student who has privacy issues or is in a bathroom where they fear that they're going to be observed or that they stand out in some way. It doesn't offer the privacy the students need. Fortunately, there's a fix for that. There are rubber strips and rubber, what they call retrofit kits, that you can put into those gaps that cover that space. It's a flexible piece of rubber that attaches to the side of the stall. So we can give more visual privacy to students, and I think that would be helpful. The other issue we have is supervisory capacity. So, I'd ask you to put yourself in the shoes of an adult who, if you're a male and you're asked to go into a bathroom that's closed in, and you saw the pictures of what that bathroom looks like, and there are young ladies in that bathroom. They're not comfortable, and the female teachers have expressed they're similarly not comfortable going in if they were male students using the bathroom. The fact that both genders may be in there at the same time doesn't really lessen that discomfort that the faculty is having. And that's why it's really important to have that openness. That's partially the reason for the designs that you saw before, where they had the private space, which was totally private, and then the open space, which could easily be monitored. We also have an issue with, or I would say it's not an issue, but a concern about the amount of staffing that we have to monitor bathrooms. So what I have here is a table that shows you how many teachers we have to cover the bathrooms. Currently, without the gender neutral bathroom open, we have 6 bathrooms over 3 different floors for students. So a girls' room and a boys' room on floors 1, 2, and 3. Typically, we try to have both a male and a female staffer in front of those bathrooms, but we don't have enough to cover all of the bathrooms all of the time for the most part. So you can see period 1 during semester 1, we had 4 faculty members to cover the 6 bathrooms. Period 2 was great. We had 6 people to cover the 6 bathrooms. Same thing will happen semester 2. We have 5 people to cover 6 bathrooms. There are some times when you see, for instance, period 8 last semester, we had 0 faculty members available to monitor the bathrooms. And we have wonderful kids here. We really do, but they're teenagers. And things happen with TikTok challenges. We had a lot of issues with vandalism at the beginning of the year, them taking soap, the soap dispenser packets and shoving them in toilets so that the toilets were overflowing, and there were feces and things running on the floors, that the bathrooms had to be shut down and completely sanitized and cleaned. They've gotten a lot better. We've done a lot of cultural work with our students and talking about respecting people who work in the building. And that's come a long way, but they're still prone to hangouts. We still have to send people in there to shoo everybody out and to make sure that everybody's safe in there. There's been a couple of times where we've had a student have a seizure in the bathroom. So it's just prudent to have good supervision in those bathrooms. If we have the gender neutral bathroom, that adds a 7th bathroom, or we could take one offline and one of the other 6 offline and just redirect students to that bathroom. That's always a possibility. What I did was I put stars here on periods 4, 5, and 8 in semester 1, and periods 3 and 4 on semester 2. Those are the periods that would not be covered for keeping the auditorium single user bathrooms available to students. So, you know, we have to make a choice here internally for the administration here, when we're still looking to see how we can make the most availability to students for these bathrooms. But right now we're leaning towards putting supervision on the bathroom to keep it open, rather than having the gender neutral bathroom open, until we can have it retrofitted or find a solution that really offers the students the privacy they need. We just believe that it's better to open the bathrooms in the auditorium where they have the ultimate privacy, rather than open a bathroom where we don't believe they're going to have the privacy that they deserve. One other thing that I want to mention, some of the things that have been brought up, you know, wasting money installing a vape detector in the gender neutral bathroom is money wasted because it's closed. That bathroom is open to the public when we have functions, and we wanted to have all of the bathrooms covered with vape detectors that are open to students or the public. So it's really not a waste. It's something we would have to have had done anyway, because we opened that bathroom up. And students must ask for a pass to go to the nurse to use the bathroom, which I talked about before. Students don't really have to ask for a clinic pass to go to the bathroom there. So in short, there are many solutions that range from $300 to put the gaskets on the gaps in the doors to tens of thousands of dollars to retrofit a bathroom and open it up. We have to make choices about what we want to do with the budget, as far as, do we want to invest in people, staffing to cover bathrooms, to supervise them appropriately? Or would we rather invest in gender neutral bathrooms that are more appropriately supervised by the teachers? And would take less coverage, because you don't need a male and a female there supervising. You could just have one person there. So there's a lot of options here, and we're open to ideas. We're open to solving this issue for our students, because we know it's a concern for many, many students in the building.
Thank you very much. Any questions from any members? We'll talk about it again when we reach it on the agenda, but if there are any questions, we can take some now.
I'll hold mine until we get to the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Morse, thank you for the presentation. So we have now reached citizens' comments, so I'll do my speech again.
Chairman Glasbog, if
Yes.
you do want to go back quickly to IBIS, I believe her sound is back. She could do the calendar.
Okay, great. So we'll rewind, and Madam Clerk, if you could call the calendar.
Tuesday, February 15, 2022, School Committee Business Meeting. Tuesday, March 8, 2022, School Committee Business Meeting.
Thank you very much. That was certainly worth the wait. Very exciting stuff. Okay, thank you. So again, so for citizens' comments, if you would like to speak, if you could use the participants tab and hit the raise your hand button, I will see that you would like to speak. We ask that each person please limit your comments to 3 minutes and speak your name and address for the record. I will also mention that if you happen to be on a cell phone, I don't think I saw anyone who is, but you would hit *9 to raise your hand using a cell phone. First person that I see, and again, I'll just also mention if your name isn't really your name, I only know what you have in Zoom. So I'm just going to use the names that I see in front of me. First I have is Brian Odell.
Brian Odell, 152 Salisbury Avenue. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. We didn't start coming to these meetings looking for a fight. We initially reached out asking honest questions, looking for straightforward answers. But from the beginning, it quickly became apparent that you're not going to be cooperative. You've dodged us, ignored us, and even lied to us. So we've had to raise our voices to be heard. You may not like it, but this now divisive environment is your creation. You have failed to address our concerns. The most blatant is the Aaron Thomas situation. The whole thing wouldn't even have come out except for the bravery of some of the victims and media getting involved. It's interesting that you responded to the bathroom situation that you talked about tonight, but have not acted on your lawyer's recommendations regarding this situation yet. We have also been asking about the school curriculums, such as the controversial wit and wisdom books that were introduced without proper vetting. We shared our very specific concerns about some of these themes exposing children to things like racism, sexuality, and suicide far too early. We gave specific examples. You simply ignored us. We called out pornography in certain books found in the high school library and asked reasonably if they could be removed and only accessed with parental permission. You laughed off such a suggestion and accused us of wanting to ban books. You also directly implied that we do not support LGBTQ rights. Both of these accusations are lies. We asked you to explain the planned investment in an expensive and racially motivated equity audit. We were asking because we knew the town already had access to other useful data, such as from survey works that point out other issues. You have still not provided your rationale. You claim you're not teaching or planning on teaching CRT in our schools. That statement is clearly misdirection. When you teach students that people must be treated differently based on skin color, that every problem is a result of our European ancestors, and that everything in Western civilization is based on racist principles, you are teaching the beliefs of Kimberly Crenshaw and her book, Critical Race Theory. If you believe students of color have lower test scores because of inequities built into the system, and that these must be corrected by taking from white students and giving to students of color, you are following the content of Rich Delgado's book, Critical Race Theory, an introduction. If you believe all education needs to be political or socially conscious, with reality and facts malleable to enhance a certain narrative, then you are following the CRT principles activist Gloria Ladson-Billings. We are not against teaching accurate history. CRT teachings are not accurate history. We simply don't believe in snake oil schemes that create division rather than unity. I recently consulted with an HR team at a prominent global manufacturing company. We looked at available research together and discovered that DEI training doesn't yield positive results and can even be counterproductive by generating resentment among the employees. We learned that more effective options focus on building a strong workplace by emphasizing open communication while respecting a variety of viewpoints, and it's working. The program we developed together is called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, not DEI. It speaks to everyone and guides the company and its employees to welcome everyone and treat them with dignity and respect without creating division. You might want to think about that.
Thank you, sir. Next person I have is Brooke Thompson. Brooke, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So I would like to speak upon the bathroom. So I'm Brooke Thompson from 25 Arnold Avenue in North Kingstown. I am the student union president at North Kingstown High School. I am a senior and I'm actively involved in clubs and sports teams at North Kingstown. But today I wish to speak as a private individual of North Kingstown, a student, a classmate, and a friend. Recently, I have spoken to our principal, Dr. Morris, at our past union meeting, and for the moment, the temporary solution for the multi-stall gender neutral restroom was due to lack of security and protection from vandalism of the bathroom, that it would remain locked during the school day, and students should refer to the nurse's office restroom or auditorium restroom. However, these are not permanent solutions. As I fully understand that closing the restrooms was necessary to ensure at the time all bathrooms were locked before winter break, except the 2 binary labeled restrooms on the 2nd floor, but it should have been reopened when all the binary restrooms were opened. Not having a school day open designated labeled gender neutral restroom sends the message that the school doesn't see and appreciate all of their students, male, female, gender fluid, or non-binary. In order for North Kingstown High School to be inclusive to all students, there needs to be an open gender neutral restroom, and there already is one. It just needs to reopen. I wish the school would put the effort in to reopen the restroom as they put into opening all the binary restrooms. Speaking as a friend and ally, opening this restroom meant a lot to people, but having it locked says a lot more. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next person I have is Kathleen Morrison Layton.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Kathleen Layton, and I live on 17 Pilgrim Drive in North Kingstown. Hello, school committee, and thank you for everything that you are doing for the North Kingstown Public School community. I appreciate each of you. Please open the accessible gender-neutral bathrooms in the high school as soon as possible. Dr. Morse, I appreciate your presentation, and you have presented many options that the committee can research. But until then, please open the bathrooms where they were previously located. According to the largest and most recent survey by the National Center for Transgender Equity, 59% of respondents sometimes refrained from using a bathroom outside of their home in the previous year. The main reason listed was fear of confrontation. As the North Kingstown School Department works so diligently to be inclusive, please reopen the gender-neutral bathrooms to provide accessible and safe bathrooms for all. The nurse's bathroom and the auditorium are not an appropriate bathroom for this need. I just know that North Kingstown can do better, and I don't like to think of students using bathrooms at such a distance. And may I politely suggest a way to possibly handle staffing these bathrooms? Years ago, when I worked at Davisville Middle School, there was a problem regarding graffiti and threats written on bathroom walls. To help watch the bathrooms during high traffic times, PTO volunteers took shifts. I would be happy to be the first person to volunteer myself for this position. Thank you. I also strongly support the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee and applaud all of your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Gabriel Anthony. Gabriel, your audio is really not legible. Are you there? We can only hear sort of a scratchy sound. Can I suggest maybe you sign out and try to sign in again, and we can try it again, and I'll give you another shot. Okay, I'm going to call on the next person. Kalia Schmur.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Great. My name is Kalia Schmerer. I live at 383 West Allenton Road in North Kingstown. I use she, her pronouns. I'm speaking tonight to encourage the reopening of the 2nd floor gender neutral bathroom at the high school. To echo what I said in my recent email to the school committee, I don't believe an extensive list of reasons is necessary to make the decision to reopen the bathroom. It's a reasonable request from the students based on their experiences and identities, and that should be respected. The existence of gender-specific bathrooms is to accommodate a discomfort with sharing bathrooms with people of another gender. This has been the norm for a long time, and no one is arguing the validity of it, and no one is suggesting we do away with those bathrooms. However, there is a population of students, there always has been and there always will be, who do not feel comfortable with the current options for bathrooms, and that discomfort should also be accommodated. The current gender-neutral bathroom situation places an unfair burden on the students who prefer a gender-neutral space. It's a lot to ask of a student to go out of their way to get to the nurse's office, interrupt the nurse, possibly occupy the same space as sick people, especially during an ongoing pandemic, and then possibly have to wait for the single bathroom to be available, all for something so simple and fundamentally human as needing to pee. It makes going to the bathroom a whole production. It's embarrassing and it's physically not healthy, and no student should be subjected to that. I don't understand why this particular bathroom remains unopened when most of the other bathrooms have been reopened following somewhat recent vandalism. I've heard reasons about understaffing, vaping, inappropriate behavior, all things that could and probably do happen in other bathrooms. The decision to keep this particular bathroom closed, to me, comes off a little discriminatory. After listening to Ms. Morse's presentation tonight, it does seem like there are several pretty good options for gender-neutral bathrooms, including options that allow for multiple fully enclosed stalls. However, the most cost-effective solution here would be to just reopen the already existing bathroom. At the end of the day, we're talking about people needing to relieve themselves while at school. The right thing to do is to reopen this bathroom and let students use it when they need to. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. So Gabriel, I'm going to try you again here. Let's see if that worked. Are you there?
Hello?
Now we got you. Okay, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Gabriel Anthony. I live at 136 Hamilton Allenton Road in North Kingstown, and I'm a junior at North Kingstown High School. Tonight, I would like to speak about the situation regarding the gender-neutral bathroom at the high school. As many others have said and will continue to say, this bathroom should be reopened. One of the reasons for the gender-neutral bathrooms opening was to be a safe space for students who do not feel comfortable using other bathrooms in the school. Now that the gender-neutral bathroom is closed, students are forced to use the nurse's office instead, which is a less than ideal alternative, as many students have to travel further from their class than they would have if the second floor gender-neutral bathroom was open. Having to use the nurse's office not only takes more time, but it's also a method of discrimination against students who would rather use the gender-neutral bathroom. Simply based on the preferred bathroom, students are having to work harder and feel more uncomfortable just to fulfill a biological necessity. I understand that there are issues that have to be addressed in order to reopen the gender-neutral bathroom, including finding the staff to monitor the bathroom. However, it is budget season, and I believe it would be worthwhile to find a place in the budget for such staffing. Another possibility that I've heard brought up for monitoring these bathrooms is someone had said something about honor society students who are in need of community service, maybe helping out. And Dr. Morrison, in your presentation, which I thank you for making, you had brought up an issue of privacy and safety for students, but I feel like the staff is not the ones that are using that bathroom. And I feel like if that's something that's going to be said, we should survey the students to see their opinions. I am not someone that is felt the need to use the gender-neutral bathroom, but personally, I feel like if I did, I would rather have that opportunity now rather than having to wait longer for it to be fully private and safe. And just again, I'd like to suggest surveying students to get their opinions. In closing, I strongly urge you to listen to the comments made at recent meetings and the many emails you have likely all received. Please vote to reopen the high school gender-neutral bathroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lori Duffy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Lori Duffy. I live at 88 Haverhill Ave in North Kingstown. I'm a clinical social worker. I specialize in kids and families. I wanted to speak tonight regarding the equity audits, but rather than me just coming and sharing my opinion, what I thought would be more helpful would be sharing some research that I've been trying to do, collecting data. I think we all can agree that good decisions are made when they're made from facts and data, not just our feelings on the matter. So I've been doing some research, in particular, wanted to see if I could find any negatives that were experienced by school districts and students who have actually gone through the process of doing the equity audits. I've heard some people come to the committee to speak about concerns that they have. So I set out to find some information in regards to that. The information that I looked at, you should know, just came from journal articles from experts in the field, no opinion pieces, no articles from Reddit or anything like that. I wouldn't look at anything that had citations that were linked to political organizations in any way. I only read articles that were cited from experts in the field and from journal articles that were held in high regard. And to date, what I wanted to share, and I'm going to keep looking and report back at another meeting, I couldn't find any articles that were published that spoke to any of the negative complaints, claims from equity audits. What I did find was many articles, many actually, over many years. Equity audits, this is not a new thing. This has been going on for quite a while. I looked at information from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, University of Texas, Austin, George Mason University, and many others. And all of the articles were published in education journals, not social justice journals or social work journals. So quickly, I just want to read a few lines from one of the journals that I felt kind of summarized what I learned. Data is powerful. They separate personal agendas from organizational necessities. When data is collected, analyzed, and exhibited in a transparent way, it's difficult for teachers, parents, and even school board members to deny certain disparities in practices, deficiencies in systems, and gaps in outcomes. And this was from Dr. Brown at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. The journal was the Journal of Education Policy and Leadership. So I support the audit being completed, collecting the information, and then deciding on what action to take. Again, I could not find any data or research to speak to any negatives, particularly the ones about white students hating themselves or Black children feeling powerless or creating divide. All of the research that I found were positives. And then I also want to echo what the students and some of the other folks were talking about in terms of the school continuing to work on this issue of a gender neutral bathroom, making sure that students have access to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next is just labeled Izzy.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Before I go, I just wanted to ask if it was okay. So I have my own little speech, and then I also have a speech of someone who wanted to attend but could not be here tonight. Would that be okay for me to read both?
You can only read your own, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Okay, could I like pick one, or I would have to read like
you can say whatever you want for 3 minutes.
Okay. So I did not plan on speaking tonight because I spoke during the
Sorry,
last
but I do need to ask you to do the name and address.
Sorry.
Yep.
Izzy Montini, 70 Bethany Lane, North Kingstown. I did not plan on speaking tonight because I spoke during the last meeting and sent a very lengthy email to all of you, including Dr. Morse. However, I am beyond disappointed with the conclusions brought forward by Dr. Morse's presentation. And while I do appreciate the time that she took to make it, the nurse's bathroom is not readily and accessibly available for students who need to use the bathroom, and it is for 6 students, not kids who don't feel comfortable using a binary bathroom. And also, as an orchestra student who is in the auditorium quite frequently, I can assure you that the auditorium doors are frequently locked, and those bathrooms are not accessible to the general student body. There's always an excuse as to why these gender neutral bathrooms are closed, and it is time to find the proper staffing to reopen it. These kids deserve an equitable, accessible bathroom as soon as possible. And then next, I would like to read this. So this is from a student that that she sent me her speech. I'm in full support of the reopening of the gender neutral bathrooms at NKHS. This year especially, it feels as though there has really been an emphasis on equality, equity, and inclusion in and around school conversations. One of the biggest ways that we can achieve inclusion for transgender and non-binary students at North Kingstown High School is by opening these bathrooms. Not only is using the bathrooms in the nurse's office and auditorium completely out of the way and inaccessible, it also takes learning time away, and it can sometimes take 3 to 4 minutes to walk to those bathrooms depending on where you are in the building. It also shines a spotlight on students who use these bathrooms, which is unfair and potentially unsafe to them. This issue was brought up at an NKHS student union meeting a few weeks ago, and Dr. Morse cited one of the reasons for the closure was that the bathrooms had turned into an all-gender smoking lounge, and that was why they were closed. All bathrooms at NK have vape detectors, and the gender-neutral bathrooms are no exception to this. Why not fix the vape detectors instead of closing the bathrooms completely? The vandalism and vaping occurring in the bathrooms seem to be evading all attempts to stop it, but the solutions have been employed to solve them as best as possible for the gendered bathrooms. Why have these solutions not been employed to solve the problems for the gender-neutral bathrooms? Speaking on a more personal note, and this is from another student, As someone who identifies as queer and gender nonconforming, having a gender-neutral bathroom would make a world of difference in how comfortable I feel at school. And I know there are many, many other students who feel the same way. Students who identify as transgender or a non-binary should not have to fight for the right to use a restroom at school. North Kingstown has the resources available to make the school more inclusive, so why aren't they utilizing them? Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Ramona Bessinger.
Okay, well, I'm going to speak to the reality of equity audits and what they
If I
actually.
could get you to state your name. I know you've spoken before, but if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Ramona Bessinger, 437 Davitt in Jamestown.
Thank you.
So, you can pull all kinds of data, advertisements, explanations of what an equity audit actually is according to a company, because of course they want to sell it. And of course, studies are done all the time at the college level, but the reality is they cost a tremendous amount of money. They change the curriculum, and they're making, equity audits do nothing but dismantle education completely and create racial divide. And I wanted to speak a little bit about how all of this has come to pass. In 2019, legislation was passed here in Rhode Island that would give the incoming Commissioner of Education at the time full powers to implement a statewide curriculum. At the time, that piece of legislation seemed reasonable and made sense. To have one curriculum addressing all children and aligned with the Common Core standards seemed to make sense to all of us as educators and as stakeholders. Then, of course, the corrupt Angelica Infante Green was appointed as head of RIDE. With her came a network, literally called the Network, of political activists who claim race was at the heart of all teaching and learning deficits. Initially, we were all optimistic that somehow this network, as they call themselves, would reform schools, streamline curriculum in Rhode Island, and make Rhode Island magically a high-performing state overall. Never did we imagine she would bring her snake oil, though, to North Kingstown and try to sell her racialized curriculum here. But alas, with the help of certain school committee members, that is exactly what she has done. What has happened since AIG was appointed is very different than we thought. Schools all over Rhode Island have been bullied to participate in these ridiculous equity audits to justify massive, expensive racialized changes to curriculum. What once started out as a statewide curriculum has turned out to be a racial battleground. Sadly, the divide gets wider. The negative impact of this audit can be seen in many, many cities, but specifically Providence, where a failing system is torn apart by changes resulting in a mass exodus of teachers out of the school system. There are those school committees here who use their position as administrators to advance their own political agenda, one that is based on emotion, feelings, and one that lacks reason, fact, or objectivity. For school committee members, the equity audit is a way to racialize and advance their own political ideology, using, of course, taxpayer money and our children. Specifically, Ms. Lima, who would like the equity audit to pass because the companies perform the audits and they align specifically with her political, radical, racialized agenda. We cannot allow these audits to happen. They do not work. Look to Providence. It is a mess. The reading and writing scores are the lowest in the country. And this all has happened in the past couple of years since the miraculous equity audit was going to come to our rescue.
Thank you very much. Next, again, I just have the name that's in front of me. It says then.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let me pull up my notes really quick. Hi, I'm Ven Pattison at 668 Tower Hill Road, and I'm here representing
You could just state the town for me, sorry.
North Kingstown.
Thank you.
I'm representing the Sexuality and Gender Alliance Club at North Kingstown High School, and we as a community feel that the restrooms need to be reopened. Many of us identify as neither male or female and don't feel comfortable using the binary restrooms. It can be dangerous to use these bathrooms for both our physical and mental health. And we, as people who would very much benefit from the use of these bathrooms, would very much appreciate the use of these bathrooms. The nurse's bathroom is not a viable solution for us, as other people in this meeting have pointed out. The nurse's bathroom is for sick children, and the auditorium bathroom is often locked. And both of these bathrooms are too far away from classes to be a long-term solution. NKHS has continuously sent a message to gender non-conforming kids of the school that NKHS does not care about them, their safety, or their comfortability. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was the last hand that I see, so we'll move on with our agenda. Thank you everyone for speaking. First items we have are routine items. If I could have a motion to seal the executive session minutes of February 1st, 2022.
So moved.
I have a motion from Ms. Hoskins.
Second.
A second from Ms. Hildebrand. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any objections? Any noes? Hearing
Oh
none.
my God, there's so much to say.
I'm sorry. Okay, so hearing none, passes unanimously. Next, I can disclose that there were no votes taken in this evening's executive session. So we have our consent agenda next. If I could get a motion to approve the, sorry, anyone have any exemptions from the consent agenda? Then I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Hildebrand.
Second.
And a second from Ms. Lima. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. For unfinished business, Mrs. King, anything on the 21-22 school budget?
No.
2022-23 school budgets. So one of the reasons we have this meeting is to squeeze one meeting in between the final approval, which would happen at our next meeting on February 15th, correct, Mrs. King? Am I got the date right? Okay. Any members have any questions or anything that they would like to discuss regarding the 2022-23 budget? Ms. Lima.
I do. Hold on one second. Sorry, I just want to find my note. We went through that a little bit faster. One thing one is a note and one is a question is
Sorry, my timer went off again.
That's okay. I just wanted to point out for anybody who was looking at it, that it looks like the free and reduced lunch population appears to have reduced across the board. But I wanted to make sure that people know that that's not necessarily true. With breakfast and lunch being free to everybody, people aren't completing the applications anymore. So it's not comparing apples to apples from year to year. I talked to Ms. King about this and she said, you know, it's going to be an issue also with the state aid numbers, but RIDE is trying to figure out how to handle that. I just don't want anybody looking at that and thinking that that has changed within our community, because it hasn't. Another thing I just want to put out there for discussion is late buses. I know that we've been talking about it internally, but I want to look to see what the cost is for adding that for next year. And as has been brought up tonight, potential cost for staffing for the restrooms, depending on where that ends up.
Okay, well, now would be the time for those questions.
I can help with that.
Awesome.
Dr. Shake.
So, you know, I appreciate Dr. Morris's presentation tonight and the questions from Ms. Lima. You know, we have presented a budget. I've said this already, but I'm going to say it again. I'm really concerned that we are very focused on a number that we feel, is going to pass with the town council. I mean, obviously that is important, but I also feel that we need to keep an eye on the things that we need in this district. And for years, we've talked about the need to address the school start times and with that, late buses and that sort of thing. I don't know if late buses is the first thing I would put on my priority list. For me, I feel like, I can think of social workers at the elementary level. I can think of assistant principals at the elementary level that I feel are very important and need to be addressed. But to answer Ms. Lima's question, if we were to get 2 buses set up for next, as soon as we can, no guarantee that ordering them by the end of budget season would get them there by September of next year, by the way. That is the bus, the driver, and everything that goes along with it ready to go. That is a total of $170,000 to the district. If we were to hire an assistant principal for an elementary school, each one, depending on the benefits package that they have, whether it's like a family plan or a single plan, you're talking in the neighborhood of $145,000. If we're looking at a TA and South Kingstown has a few of these folks, TAs that are hired to act as security. They could walk the floors during classes and between classes, and monitor restrooms. I personally think it is not the appropriate thing to have our teachers monitoring restrooms. When I came in the district as assistant superintendent, that was the year that we fought for that we would have teachers use their time where they're not teaching in a productive way to help their teaching. We negotiated against duties for teachers and for them to have common planning time, for instance. I would think it is much more appropriate for a teacher who has all the degrees that we ask of them and all of the students in their charge to spend any time where they're not in front of kids to either be preparing for the next class, working with their colleagues, grading papers, or just resting and having a cup of coffee to get ready for the next period. I don't see the point in having them monitor bathrooms. It's not that that's not noble work, but it should be someone else that does it. And by the way, we have a shortage in substitutes. So a lot of those teachers are being asked to cover for other teachers' classes, and the numbers that Dr. Morse showed us are on a good day what's available, and we don't have enough people to cover all of the bathrooms on any given day. We just don't. So, if that's the vision of a school department that we want, each TA costs about $35,000, depending on their health insurance to take. It could be as much as $50,000 if they have a family plan. So this does not come inexpensively. And a social worker, if you're looking to add for that, you're looking in the neighborhood of, over 100 or north of $86,000 when you consider the step you'd bring such a person on. They have a master's degree to get that kind of a job, and you're including their benefits. So all of these things are expensive, and I'm not even going down the road yet of if we were to poll every principal and say, what is your priority? And what is if we had an extra $200,000 and what would you need? I don't know if any of the items that I just described would make it there. For instance, when I talked to Dr. Morse about this, she talked about the need for another school psychologist at the high school level. We have one person for 1,400 kids. That's just not right. Other schools this size have about 3. So, we need to be thinking in those terms, but it's really hard to address those kinds of issues when every year we talk about we probably need more than 4%, and we're not even allowed to ask for that. So to continue doing what we're doing now, next year is going to require at least a 3.35% increase from the town and another $500,000 from our fund balance, not recommended practice, to get over 4% to just do what we're doing now. I know that everybody on the school committee, I know that everybody in the administration, including myself, took on these jobs because we want to make things better, not because we want to continue doing the same. But that's what the budget reality gives us. So I hope I answered your question, Ms. Lima. For 2 buses, you're talking $170,000.
You did. Thank you.
I have a couple of comments, maybe not questions, but My quick and dirty math, we're asking for a 3.35% increase over FY22 budget. 4% isn't pie in the sky. It's 4% is again, I don't see the harm in asking for 4%. That's nearly $500,000 that we're leaving on the table. It's $467,000 that we're potentially leaving on the table by not even asking. And if we consider stuff like, I read through the transportation budget again, or the transportation, this giant
report.
Report, thank you. I can't even come up with a word. Even the most expensive was $486,000 for hiring 6 to 8 new buses to address the school start time issues. That's essentially leaving, that's what we're leaving on the table by not even asking for these, 4%. 3.35% and leaving $467,000 on the table when there's so much that we could be spending this money on. And I'd like to echo Dr. Auger. We have at least 2 elementary schools that have a higher population than our middle schools do, with 1 principal and no assistant principal. And that seems a little crazy to me that we're simultaneously leaving $467,000 potentially on the table and not considering hiring additional principals at the elementary school level, or additional psychologists at the high school level, or social workers at the elementary school level. It's a lot of money, and I don't see the downside in asking. The most that town council can do is say no. But these are big sweeping changes that we could have. I mean, $487,000 for new school start times, if we get the busing taken care of, that's pretty significant in my mind. And to ask for 3.35% and not 4% seems like a mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Mather. Anyone else?
Could I just clarify something? I know it might be a moot point, but I just want to be really clear. If we were to add 2 buses, I'm assuming they'd be the large buses. They would be our bus contractors, okay? They would not be employees. So we would still need to find someone that would go out and buy a bus and contract for it. I can tell you unequivocally that if we were to make that decision today, there's no way that would happen for September, because it takes 6 months or more to get the buses when they're ordered. And then, obviously we'd have to go out looking for someone, but I just wanted to make that clarification. They're not employees. So the mini buses, those are our employees. And I assume that if we did do it, we'd be looking for the larger buses. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I understood, but kicking that subject down the road year after year after year because it's going to take 6 months to find employees doesn't make sense. I mean, at some point, I think we should be ripping the Band-Aid off and doing it. And so what if it takes 6 months to find buses? Then maybe it doesn't happen in September. Maybe it happens the following September or the following January. But at some point, I think we need to make the decision.
I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm making a point of clarification.
Yeah.
It's not my decision to make. I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on the bus that we would be looking for, that it would not be employees.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to speak for a moment. So just with respect to what you said, Mr. Mather, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree with your notion that, we're leaving money on the table by asking for less than 4%. We need to be cognizant of the fact that every dollar that is going to the school department is coming from the taxpayers of the town of North Kingstown. And we need to be cognizant of the burden that property taxes have on all of our citizens. We have a responsibility to have a school department that is effective and does its job. And we, I think, are all committed to doing better than just having a school department that's effective in doing its job. And North Kingstown has been known for a very long time as having a certainly superior and well-respected school department with respect to the actual results that we have. We're very proud of that here. And, we always make the point that does also benefit everyone in town, in that, it does affect property values and makes it easier for people when they go to sell their house to make more money. The town council is able to give us more than we ask for, should they choose to do that. And they are all aware, we've said it many times, and I'd be happy to, if they want to ask these specific questions, clarify what it would cost to make a big change like school start times. We've talked about it for many years. You're absolutely correct. There are a number of counselors of both parties that have supported that notion. The problem is when it comes to actually funding it, that's a different story. So if the council wants to look at the ask that we are giving right now and say, you know what, you're asking for less than 4%, we're going to give you more. And while we can't direct you what to do with it, the understanding would be that you would use these funds to, buy a bus and affect start times. By all means, I think that could still happen. But I just, I think we have a responsibility to the taxpayers that we need to try to, limit our ask to the council to, reasonable numbers. And I don't think that means we're leaving money on the table.
I also don't think that 4% is unreasonable. I think historically it's been much, much higher than that, and it's only limited to 4%.
Thank you. Any other members want to weigh in anything? The only one thing I will add that I agree with you on is in a world where inflation this year is looking more like 7 to 8%, the 4% that we've talked about in the past is a very different number. It's going to affect everything that we do as we budget. Mrs. King, I know you try to take inflation into account as you budget for the cost of services, and it affects everything. It's very noticeable to us in wages right now. As we know, we just went back and had to make adjustments to our substitute staffing rates throughout the district, and it affects each and every one of our employees as well. Not to mention everything down to the cost of paper and supplies and building materials and everything that goes along with it. So that 4% number, I agree, in the long term, it becomes less and less all the time if the numbers stay the way they are. But I still hold to the fact that asking less than 4% is being conscious of the effect that our requests have on the taxpayers in North Kingstown. So that's my 2 cents.
Just one thing though, I mean, listening to what Dr. O'Shea said about one social worker for 1,400 kids at the high school, $80,000 for one social worker, I would be inclined to roll that in. I mean, the worst they can do is say no. I mean, if you don't get it if you don't ask for it. And I have a hard time believing that being cognizant of the burden on the taxpayers, that there was an overwhelming response of the need for socio-emotional support in the survey that Dr. Mansieri put out. And I don't see one for 1,400 kids that speaks to a greater need there. And if we can ask for it, if we don't get it, that's unfortunate. But if we don't ask, we're definitely not going to get it.
So any member
that was a school psychologist on that.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Yep.
So any member can make a motion at any time to make a change to the school budget, and now is the time to do that. So
that was my question, because I'm, a process person. That I hear a lot of conversation and I appreciate it all, but I'm just wondering if this is a lot of conversation, and I'm worried because we need to make a decision and move forward to a vote for our next meeting. And we also need to give information to Mrs. King. So somebody would need to make a motion.
Correct.
To add something, whatever that something is, because we're talking about a lot of some things that are all really important. Okay. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. This is the meeting to do that, because in this meeting, you could make a slightly, I don't want to say vague, that's not the right word, but you could make a motion that we add a position or a thing, and Mrs. King would have the time to run the numbers if we approve it and say that means you must now ask the town council for this number, which we would need to do at our next meeting. So the reason we had a meeting last week and we have a meeting right now is for this reason. This is the adjustment meeting. This is the time to do that. So if anyone wants to make a change to the budget that the superintendent proposed, now's the time to make your motions.
Can we make a motion to have Mrs. King or Dr. O'Shea get additional data for us on administrators and what we would need for elementary school assistant principals, and also for an additional school psychologist at the high school level?
Well, we can do that, but then we won't have time to do it Mr. Mather. If you want to add a school psychologist, you'd want to make a motion to add a school psychologist. If you want to add a principal, you make the motion to add the principal. And then Mrs. King could come back and say, you now need to approve a budget of this. We don't have the time to go back and forth at this point. It's time to either to do it or not do it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to add a school psychologist at the high school.
So
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So I will add that I would be willing to do that if we're going to reduce the budget to hold the number. I think when you're coming to adding things like this, it's a time to reevaluate priorities, and that if you're going to be making a change like that, that we should be looking at other items that we can use to pay for that. So while I do not have any problem with or deny that there may be a need for that, I have a problem asking for more money than Dr. Auger has approved at this point. That's my 2 cents, and that's what I'd have to say on it. Any other discussion?
Can Dr. Auger weigh in on that?
Certainly. Dr. Auger, do you have any comments
Well,
to make?
you know, I would also ask if you could unmute Dr. Morse.
Sure.
You know,
Sorry, didn't
we were
realize
talking
she
about
was.
this today. I'm particularly worried about, you know, our social emotional staff. I don't think we have enough of it really at any level. My coming into this meeting, I was thinking in terms of, you know, where at the elementary schools, we are sharing, I know of one social worker who's shared between 3 elementary schools. It just doesn't feel right with all the need that we have right now. I know it's not. We're able to put some Band-Aids on some of that with the ESSER money that we're getting. But, you know, long term, we need, you know, we really need a fix on that. I mean, I know we're taking this final vote on the 15th. I can come back and, you know, after talking with, you know, Dr. Morse and the other principals a little bit more, come back to you with a concrete, okay, if this is, you know, the money you've set aside to do this, this is how we would like to do it. You know, I realize hiring an assistant principal, for instance, at the elementary level is, it's a big ask just to have one added, much less 5. So, you know, maybe there's a way, knowing that this is something that the committee wants to entertain, we could come back on the 15th and say, okay, now that we've talked it through as an administrative team, here's how we think, you know, the money.
Right,
that
but I
you
don't
would
think
set aside
5,
for them.
I don't think we need 5 assistant principals at the elementary school. I think.
No,
that-
I don't
that is-
either. I'm not
I think
saying
there's
that.
1, maybe 2 elementary schools that are as big, if not bigger, than the middle schools right now.
Right. They're you know, Hamilton and Stony Lane are big. You know, and I think Stony's roughly the same size as Wickford, and Hamilton has an enrollment larger. But, you know, every school has its needs. I mean, when I think of Quidnesset, I think of a school that could use an assistant principal as well. And maybe one that is shared between Forest Park and Fishing Cove because of, you know, the size of the school. But, you know, even that is a huge ask on a budget in any year. I get that. And, you know, knowing that the committee is interested in entertaining that, I'd be more than willing to come back on the 15th, which is the night we need to make the final vote, to tell you, okay, if you're telling me you have a ceiling of, say, you know, so many hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this, this is what we have talked it out as an administrative team and think this would be the best way to spend that money. And that could be what you vote on in 2 weeks. So you're kind of preparing for that February 15th vote.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table with a second. Mrs. King, are you comfortable that if we sort of explain that that's the priority, we want absolute dollars for that meeting, that you would be able to make the appropriate adjustments if we decide not to take a vote on this right now?
Yeah, we can work that out at the next meeting. The only thing that I am going to remind everyone, if everybody would like to look back at our history, we have never, ever gotten a 4% in the 10 years that I've been here from the town. Nobody's saying it's not important stuff, but my comment would be that you need to be well prepared for May when that magic number comes from the town and it's not what you asked for. So now that, in my mind, means that you need to see where you think your priorities are, and if you do need to move some stuff around. So My comment is not that it's not necessary, or I don't agree, or I disagree. That's not for me to say. But I can tell you the history, and it's been a long, long, long time since this district has seen anything even close to a 4, even with full day K. When
And
we
I
went
think
to full
adding
day K,
administrators is also something that's not
What's
looked
that?
highly upon, like adding administrators. So
which is unfortunate, because
Right.
I can tell you, as being one of those administrators, that we are very, very thin when it comes to all levels, and not just at the schools. But you are right. Administrator is a dirty word in this town. It's very unfortunate because people are just burnt out and they're done. And that will continue. We have shortages everywhere, and you're going to continue to see shortages, in my opinion, in the administrative level as well. But I just really want you to be thinking about, okay, if we do agree to add stuff on the 15th, that you're really thinking in your mind, what happens if, unfortunately, we don't see the number that we're hoping for, and where your priority is at that time, because then we will also be a little tighter on time as well, possibly not as tight as 2 weeks tonight to make these changes, but you'll have to make some pretty heavy decisions at that point on where your priorities lie. For example, do you want to keep something that you added and maybe take something else away? So that's just my caution and my advice, just for doing this for the last 10 years in North Kingstown.
I would personally rather be in a position where we don't get what we ask for than just not to ask for it. And I will very respectfully disagree with Mr. Blasbog in that, I do appreciate the tax burden on the town, but understand how important this stuff is for our school system.
So Jake, my
don't
suggestion
feel
would be
personally
to
that we
figure
can-
out what that number is that you're looking to ask for, and then add those things, knowing that they may get cut in the long run, but look at if you want the busing, or if you want an assistant principal or a psychologist. Like, we can't have it all. We can't ask for it all. So really coming to numbers on what you want Mary to put together, so that you can decide next on the 15th what you want to ask for.
So if we
Also,
withdraw,
because I'm your finance person, I will also tell you that you also need to keep in mind the pressure that you put on future years. So Dr. Auger has indicated that, and I will remind you, this is our second year of taking $500,000 from our fund balance and using it in our general fund. And we had committed to the town council that we would do that for 3 years. So that means that your $1.5 million from a one-time savings account that you put into your general fund, that you're using to fund future years. You're using it to fund not one-time items.
Which is not a
so
good
that is
accounting practice.
another item to keep in mind.
And my point being that we need to be concerned about that with everything from the effect of charter schools on our budget, with the effect of changes that could come to CTE programs that could negatively affect the school budget, to changes of political climate that affect the school budget, and just everything that goes along with it. And particularly worried about the funding formula, that we could be looking at tough years ahead. And when you make these kinds of adds, it's very hard to go backwards. And that's why I generally prefer, I don't have a problem with looking at changing priorities, but I like to use, we've used the word before, the offsets, where we're making a reevaluation of priorities and doing something new, and instead not doing something that we might not need as much as we thought we did in the past, which is as much more of a zero-sum game. I'm very, very concerned about any kind of ad like this. We do have a motion and a second on the table, so we need to make a decision. Either we vote on it, or we unanimously have unanimous consent to withdraw the motion and hear from Dr. Auger with a very specific proposal as to this item at our next agenda. That's up to you folks, what you want to do.
so
The
I'll
motion
make,
was for school psychologist at the high school, correct?
That's
Right.
the motion that you made.
Administration.
so
And-
we would make the motion to withdraw that, wait for the package.
If we all agree, we can withdraw the motion, if that's what you guys want to do, and then hear from Dr. Auger at our next meeting.
As to where the resources are most needed, and then we would vote at the next
With
meeting.
a dollar amount, yes.
Okay.
Is that what people want to do? Do we have unanimous consent to withdraw the motion?
Yes.
I'm all right with that.
Anyone
fine with
disagree?
that.
Because if any one of us disagree, we just vote. So, okay, I have no problem with withdrawing the motion and hearing from Dr. Ajay at our next meeting. Again, I caution that if there are things like this that we want to look at, now is the time to do it, because next meeting, there's no more, let's come back next time. This is the time. Any other, so that motion is going to be withdrawn by unanimous consent. Anyone else like to make any motions to modify the superintendent's proposed budget, or if we want to do it this way, to have him come back with very, very specific numbers at our next meeting on something else?
Yeah, and I would like to make to make a motion to
You
have.
don't necessarily have to do a motion, Jake. If you just want him to tell you, I want to know exactly what it'll cost to do this, you could just ask for that. We don't need to vote.
I'd like to know exactly what it would cost and the structure of additional assistant principals at the elementary school level. And I'd also like to know exactly what it would cost for the school psychologist at the high school level.
So Dr.
I will be
Ajay,
ready.
if you
I'll be
could come
ready.
back with very specific proposals and Mrs. King can work with you on the dollar amount and line items we'd be adjusting to do those things if they were to get approved, because this is
Got it.
our sort of our last shot to make these kind of changes. Anything else?
No, we already have the information that we need for the transportation study, so I don't feel like asking for additional information on that is necessary at this point.
Okay. And if you have anything specific, please reach out to Mrs. King as well. So, okay, then anything else on the 2022-23 school budget? Okay, next, Attorney Carroll, if you could provide an update on the status of investigations and investigative reports.
I have no new information since the last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And then on new business, we had our presentation and we've sort of tangentially discussed restrooms at the high school. Any further discussion from any members on that matter? We've talked about it a lot, but Mrs. Lima?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments and then
Sure.
I guess questions. So I want to thank Dr. Morse for putting that presentation together. It had a lot of helpful information and I appreciate that. I also want to thank all the students who sent the emails and showed up tonight to speak, and all the work that they've been doing inside the school on the issue. I think it's a really great example of what it means to be an ally, and I think they did a great job. I understand that the administration's primary concern is for student safety, but I think it's important to note that concerns around behavior in gender-neutral bathrooms are the same that are faced in other bathrooms. And, students are going to make poor choices, and it's the school's role to ensure that they learn from those mistakes. And holding the gender neutral bathroom to a different standard than the single sex bathrooms, I think is not okay. On the surface, the argument is about bathrooms, but really it's about the transgender and non-binary students within our school system. The current setup at North Kingstown High School might be within the letter of the law, but it's not really keeping within the spirit of it. I understand that there are gender neutral bathrooms available. We've heard it over and over tonight, the nurse's office in the auditorium, but they are both out of the way and they're not always available. And it doesn't provide our students with access to facilities that don't single them out or require them to do something that other students don't need to do in order to feel comfortable and secure. I know Dr. Morse pointed to all the literature that said the nurse's office is acceptable, but the nurse's office is where we send children who are sick. And I don't think that's a message that we want to send to our transgender and our non-binary students. The other thing is that the discussions around this have really placed an undue burden on our non-binary and transgender students. It's created a situation where we're expecting them to be open and vocal about their bathroom preference. That's not something that students should have to talk about publicly. We shouldn't have created a situation where students have to explain why they should have a bathroom. That's not something that we would ever ask of our cisgendered students, to have to justify having an accessible bathroom. I really think that, I'm sure that if we work together, we can come together with a plan to make the second floor gender neutral bathroom safe and operational. Those who aren't comfortable using it don't have to. One thing that hasn't been brought up is that these bathrooms were just opened this year. They were not in use before this year. if we made them single use, even though they are multi-stall, they could still be gender neutral, but only one person at a time could go in. That might be something to look at. You know, I know that this district wants to support all of its students, and this is a great opportunity to demonstrate that. I really believe that having the gender neutral bathroom in the middle of that building, just like where everybody else goes to bathroom, is important, and that we really need to see what can be done to make those open now, even if with an eye towards modifying them. There has to be a way to have them open now, and I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I agree, Jen. I have a question, and maybe for Dr. Morris. How many stalls does the clinic bathroom have?
The clinic is a single stall bathroom. It's a private single user bathroom with a regular door. It's not a stall. There's also another bathroom in the vicinity that is a single use bathroom that when the clinic bathroom is being used, she can direct students to another bathroom that's a single use bathroom that she has direct line sight of.
Okay.
So it has adult supervision, in other words.
All right. That I mean, again, I'm like kind of a little bit of a numbers guy. A single-use bathroom for 1,450 students doesn't seem, I mean, I know there are a lot of other bathrooms in the building, but not that that are appropriate. And I'd like to just echo some of, or Jen Lima's concerns as well. There should be a way that we can find to get these bathrooms open again. And it is kind of sad to me that it's gotten to this point where we have so many students and so many people reaching out with this concern that should be pretty straightforward. And I know it's not, and Dr. Auger, I see your hand up, so please feel free to respond. But
yeah, you know, it's not an easy issue. And nothing, there's nobody in the administration that's against having a gender neutral bathroom. Not that part, there's no problem. But we're experiencing something I never thought I would be witnessing in education, that bathrooms are being destroyed and vandalized. And we're at a point now where we have to have monitors outside of bathrooms and checking in. And we only have so many staff available to do that work. Everybody else is busy teaching a class or, you know, doing the work that they do in you know, their work at the high school. So again, it becomes, you know, a budget issue.
So just real quick, someone brought up the idea of community service hours and monitoring bathrooms. Would that ever be an option? I'm just curious.
You know, that was, you know, I mean, it's something we can consider. It's a new idea to me. You know, I'd need to talk, you know, it's certainly, I'd like to hear more from Dr. Morse on that. I don't know if
Absolutely.
we can do all that
I just
tonight,
thought it
you
was
know?
an interesting.
But yeah, you know, I mean, there may be some creative ideas out there, but, you know, I think, you know, and again, looking at the vision of what we want in our schools, you know, I don't want to ever have a report from the high school principal telling me what we just heard about the bathrooms at the high school earlier this year. It's crazy. We shouldn't have that. But we're not set up with a structure that there are people there to do that work. And it sounds, you know, like a really hefty price tag to be paying somebody in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $50,000 to do that. So, you know, it's just not an easy issue to figure out. And we do have some alternatives. They're not the best, you know, and the most popular with everybody, but they're there. And you know, so there's just not this issue where we're trying to pick on one group as opposed to another. If Dr. Morse moves a teacher who's currently monitoring any other bathroom to the gender neutral bathroom, then, you know, that's going to be a setup for another bathroom to be vandalized again, Or
Well,
just,
how
you
about,
know,
why don't we close 2 of the single sex bathrooms, put those 2 staff members on the gender neutral bathroom, and anybody who's not comfortable using those can go down to the clinic.
well, I mean, all of that is possible, Ms. Lima, but, we've had a lot of complaints when we close those bathrooms too.
Well, but I guess that's my point, is all the complaints that are being directed in terms of safety, staffing, and vandalism towards the gender neutral bathroom, those same things are happening in the single sex bathrooms. So it just feels like there has to be a way, if we can accommodate those in the single sex bathrooms, there has to be a way to accommodate those in the gender neutral bathrooms.
And I'm just saying that one of those ways is for the school committee to appoint the resources.
How many other
And here we are on budget night.
If I could just respond to a couple of things. We're not opposed, and I mentioned, I think before in my presentation, that it could be considered a possibility to, for instance, close down the gender-specific bathrooms on the second floor and divert those people when we have them. We don't even have people to cover the bathrooms half the time. So it's not even a matter of shifting them from one place to another if we don't even have the people. But before we would do something like that, I think it's the bigger issue here is making those stalls comfortable for students to use. Students are not comfortable. I would not be comfortable myself.
Has that issue been raised by a student, or is that something that is you're preemptively raising? And I'm not being confrontational, I'm just asking the question.
It's something, when I looked at the research and started talking to other schools, and I have an appointment on Thursday to talk to a school who has implemented gender neutral bathrooms in a building twice the size of ours. They have 3,000 students. It's in the literature as an issue. It was in the building designs of people who are experts in building these bathrooms. And when you stop to think about it, you put yourself in the shoes. Would you want to go in a stall where there are gaps and people can see through there, especially when you're in a multi-stall, multiple gender situation?
Is that something that's the case in the other bathrooms, in the other multi-stall bathrooms? Because I can speak from experience.
They're gender specific. So, when a young lady is using a stall in the girls' bathroom, it's only girls in there. And when they're in the gender neutral bathroom, it could be any gender in there. And I think that's what makes students feel more vulnerable. That's why they want the single user private bathrooms to begin with, is for the privacy. So it affords less privacy. And, I would imagine that there's a bit of discomfort in any situation, but the students that would be in that situation are even more vulnerable.
So maybe we can look at opening that up as a single use, even though it has multi-stalls, allowing one person in at a time and staffing it with PTO volunteers.
Yeah, if we have people to staff it, that's a distinct possibility. I would like to see us invest a little bit of money, at least putting the gap fillers in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
At $30 to $40 per stall, I think that's a great investment to handle that issue. But I would need the extra staffing, because what happens when you close down bathrooms where multiple people can go in at one time, to create a bathroom where only one person at a time goes in, you're creating lines and waiting times for kids. So that's just it has nothing to do with the gender. It has everything to do with just logisticals.
So what type of a time frame do you think you're looking at in order to be able to open this up and also get the rubber gapping in?
Well, that depends on, I don't have any timeline on the staffing. That's something I'd have to talk to Dr. Auger about, and PTSO about volunteers. And I would need to get a timeline on, I don't think it would take very much time at all to order the materials. It would just be getting people to install them, so.
Okay, would it be possible?
I'm not trying to throw roadblocks, but decisions like that take a little time. Whenever you're hiring anybody to do anything, including volunteer, believe it or not, there are our union friends will weigh in on that if that is a role traditionally given to a union employee. So those are, and again, it sounds like I'm just trying to say no to anything.
No,
I'm not.
I understand.
Trying to tell you about how frustrating this is, that the solutions as I see them require some funding, and they're not going to happen tomorrow morning.
I believe that you
But
guys
that
want
seems
to,
to be off the table.
I believe that you want to find a solution for this. I just believe it's frustrating for the students at the high school. They came to the administration last year to get this open. They were very pleased to finally get it opened at the beginning of this year, and then to have it shut down and not reopened, I think is frustrating. So I'm hoping to just get a timeline on when we can see some movement on this.
And to real quickly, that to address the issue of a potential line outside of the bathrooms, I can't imagine how, I mean, that wouldn't be any different than a potential line outside of the clinic, a single-use clinic bathroom, or potentially even the overflow single-use bathroom for the clinic. So it as a temporary solution to have this.
It would be closed because you closed down bathrooms that were multi-stall. That's
So Mr. Mather, if you close down a 6-stall bathroom and replace it with a 1-stall bathroom, it's going to take 6 times as long for the same number of people to use it.
Understood. I understand that math. I'm talking about reopening the gender neutral bath, or the gender neutral bathroom as a single stall bathroom in the short term. That is adding no additional, I mean, it's a single, essentially where it's being treated as a single use bathroom, a single stall bathroom, which is the same situation as the single stall
But to
bathroom.
make sure it's entered one person at a time would require someone to monitor it all day.
And how many other bathrooms are in the high school? And this is going back to Jen's point, I think, in the possibility of closing a different bathroom and not just choosing the gender neutral bathroom, to just closing that one.
So currently we have 6 bathrooms, 2 on each floor, boys and girls bathrooms. The gender neutral bathroom is in the spine on the 2nd floor. It's the one that was originally intended to be a public bathroom.
I'm obviously just trying to find a temporary solution until there's a permanent solution.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? I know we've talked quite a bit.
We make a motion to admit them.
This is not, excuse me, this is not an agenda item that
It's
you
on
can vote
discussion
on.
only, so.
Okay.
So,
Can I ask that we have a report back no later than the next school committee meeting?
Dr. Ajay, can you have something for us to look at?
I can report back. I'm not sure what I'll have, but we'll continue to discuss it and look for some options, and I'll report back.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I just add that the opening and closing of bathrooms at the high school is certainly the prerogative of the building principal. You as a school committee can ask the principal, you can ask the superintendent and the principal to look into it. But at the end of the day, it's the principal that needs to decide, you know, what is open and what is not open. And if she needs other value, money and resources to do it, I mean, that's what you can vote on. You can vote to give her so much money to have supervision for the bathroom. But as far as whether or not she opens a bathroom, I mean, as the building principal, as the leader of the building, that's something that it would be up to her. And you could certainly just say that it's, you know, that it's your position that you would like her to look into this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Understood. This is, so are you saying, Marianne, that, but this is for just discussion only, because that's what I was going to try to do.
Right, today, right, you can make no motion today at all, because we've got it under new business, and new business is just discussion only.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we can't ask questions, so.
Correct.
And request information at our next meeting. We just can't make a binding decision. Which I think we've done. We've requested, you know, that we hear back again. Okay, I think we've spent a lot of time. I don't think there's really much more that anyone can add to this agenda item, which means we've reached the end of our agenda. And I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Mather, second from Mrs. Lima. No discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all for attending this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.